this video we're going to look at percent problems. We'll do 5 pages. Here's page 1. What number is a percentage of something? And then at the end of page 2 we start with what percent of 6 is 3 and what percent of something is something. And then by page 4 we're looking at 30 is 50% of what number, 22 is 25% of what number, and so on. And then we'll look at this and then end up with what is 5.4% of that. Okay, so let's start with page 1. What number is 50% of 6? Write down the answer first of all. Okay, now we have to get what number is 44% of 38, so of course we'll need a little bit of a strategy. But can you tell me the answer to this? 50% is the same thing as 1/2, right? Isn't it? Remember that? So what number is half of 6? The answer is 3, right? Now the way we were going to do this is we're going to say, okay, we want to get 50% of 6. Now of, you might remember, means multiply. Okay, 50% can be turned into a decimal. What's 50% as a decimal? You can move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left and get 0.50 or 0.50. So 0.50 of 50% of 6 is 0.50 times 6, so you can just multiply these numbers. Okay, 0.5 times 6, 6 5s is 30, carry the 3, 6 zeros is 3, and 1 decimal point in the problem, so 3.0. So 0.5 times 6 gives 3.0 or 3, right? So that's the strategy, is turn the percentage into a decimal and multiply. So what number is 44% of 38? You know, the first thing you gotta do is breathe for a second and think, what am I doing? What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get 44% of 38. I know that of means multiply, okay, because I want to get 44% can be turned into a decimal. Turn 44% into a decimal. So of is multiply, 44% as a decimal. I can move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right, giving me 0.44 or 0.44, you know, multiplied by 38, right? So if I go 0.44 times 38, I'll get the answer. So you've got to multiply these numbers. 8 times 4, 32, carry the 3. 8 times 4, 32, and 3 is 35, carry the 3. 8 times 0 is 0, and 3 is 3. Put down 0, multiply by 3. 3 fours is 12, carry the 1. 3 fours is 12, and 1 is 13. Add these. 2, 7, 6, 1. And there are 2 decimal places in the problem, so there's going to be 2 decimal places in the answer. So 16.72 is the answer. 16.72. Okay. So on to page 2. What number is 7.5% of 2,230? So once again, and we could think about this as, say, Social Security tax on a monthly wage of $2,230, right? So what would the Social Security tax for the month be for this? So first of all, turn this percentage into a decimal. And what do you get? Well, the decimal point can be moved 2 spaces to the left, like that, to get 0.0, right? So that's going to give me 0.075 0.075 or 0.075. Of is multiply, so multiplied by this number, right? 2230. So it's this times this, and then you just calculate that. So 2230, 0.075, multiply them. So 5 zeros is 0, 5 threes is 5, carry the 1, 5 twos is 10, and 1 is 11, carry the 1, 5 twos is 10, 1 is 11. Put down 0, placeholder, and multiply by 7. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 3, 21, carry the 2. 7 times 2 is 14, 14 and 2 is 16, carry the 1. 7 times 2 is 14, 14 and 1 is 15, and now add, and I've got 0, 5, 2, 7, 6, 1, and I have 1, 2, 3 decimal places in the problem. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3 decimal places in the answer. So that is 167.25. So Social Security tax of 7.5% on this monthly wage is $167.25. Okay. Okay, so that's the answer there. Now this is a different type of question. What percent of 6 is 3? Can you do that one? What percent of 6 is 3? Just write down the answer. What percent of 6 is 3? And well, the answer is 3 is 50%, is half of 6. Okay, because 3 is 50% of 6. It's half, right? And I guess one way of figuring this out, and you can decide whether you want to do it this way or not, but what percent is what we don't know. We'll call that P, right? P is the percentage we do not know. Of means multiply, times. What percent times 6 is? Is can be represented with an equal sign. Is 3. So what percentage of 6 is 3? Isn't that weird that you can turn that English sentence into an equation? And now we can find P. And P, you see, because it's P multiplied by 6 equals 3, or you could write that as 6 times P equals 3. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the point is, you've got to divide by 6 on both sides. We did this before, didn't we? And we get P equals 3 over 6. You see, that's the percentage. And now you just turn this fraction into a percent and you have the answer, because the answer is 3 over 6, and in lowest terms, what's that? 1 over 2, right? And then turn that into a percentage. Well, you've got to divide 2 into 1. 2 into 1 goes 0 times, but 2 into 10 goes 5 times. So we get 0.5 or 0.50, or so 0.50, or if you move that decimal point 2 spaces to the right, that is 50%. So 3 over 6 becomes a half, which ends up being 50%. Okay, so yeah, it's a kind of an interesting one. Some students like to just begin here. They just go, okay, 3 out of 6. Look, what percent of 6 is 3? That tells me that I need to go 3 over 6 and just turn that into a percentage. Okay, so some students don't bother with the equation. That's fine. I think it's kind of fun to try the equation because it'll give us some practice for later problems as well. But, you know, if you can get the answer, you can get the answer. So, what percent of 20 is 9? I'm going to set up the equations for all of these just for the fun of it, because I think it's good practice for you. But what percent is something we don't know? Okay, what percent? I'm going to turn this whole sentence into an equation. What percent? I do not know, and I'm going to call it P. It's the unknown. Okay, of means multiply. What percent P of 20? So 20 comes next. Is, the word is can be represented with an equal sign, is 9. See that? What percent of 20 is 9? And now I need to solve that equation for P. And we did this earlier. If you want to solve for P, P is being multiplied by 20. So you must divide by 20 on both sides. So we find that the percentage P is 9 over 20. And that is the answer. But the answer at the moment is in fraction form. What we want is the answer in percent form. Okay? So we've got to turn this fraction into a percentage. Okay? So go ahead and do that. Well, let's see. It's 9 over 20, so you got to go 20 into 9, and let's stick a bunch of zeros there, right? See what you come up with. $20 into 90. 4 times 4 20s is 80. Subtract, I get 10. Bring down a 0. 20 into 100. 5 times 20, 100. Subtract, and remainder 0. Okay, remainder 0. And this decimal point needs to be above here. So I get 0.45. So I've turned it into a decimal, 0.45. And now, of course, the answer has to be in percent form. So you've got to turn that decimal into a percent. So move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right, and we get 45%. And by goodness, I have to say, if you guys are able to do this, you know, like, this is awesome. I mean, you're going from a sentence to an equation, solving an equation, going from a fraction to a decimal, going from a decimal to a percentage. I mean, you're already better at math than most people. So you gotta pat yourselves on the back and realize how good you're getting at this point. Because I'm kind of expecting you to do all this, and then thinking, wow, it's really cool if you can do all this at this point. It's really good. Okay. Anyway, so what percent of 16 is 7? By all means, press pause and do this one by yourself. Okay? Press pause and do this by yourself. Okay, I'll try it now. What percent is what we don't know? I'll call it P. Of means multiply. Multiplied by. P multiplied by 16 is equals 7, right? So 16, it goes here, the 7 goes here. So what percent is P of times 16 is 7. Okay? And when you solve that equation for P, you divide by 16. You see? And now you just get P on its own. The percentage is 7 over 16. Now once again, some students, when they see this equation, they go, what percent of 16 is 7? Oh, I've got to get 7 out of 16. So they think about that. They go, okay, well, 16 is kind of like the total, and 7 is the part. So I want to get 7 out of 16, and they just make this fraction, and then they go from there. And that's fine. You can do that if you like. I kind of like to set up the equation, just at least in the video, just for the practice. Okay. So now you have to turn this into a decimal, and then after it's in a decimal form we can put it in percent form. Okay. So 16 into 70. 16 into 7 goes 0 times. 16 into 70. Let's see. Well, 20 goes 20, 40, 60. So 4 20s is 80. I'm going to try 4. If it doesn't work, I'll try something else. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 4, and 2 is 6. Subtract. 70 minus 64 is 6. Bring a 0 down. 16 into 60 goes, I'll try 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, and 1 is 4. Subtract. 60 minus 48 is 12. Down to 0. Now, what's this? 16 into 120? 5/16 is 80. Oh my goodness, this isn't going to be right either, is it? Let's see. I'm going to try 7 times. 7 times 6 is 42, carry the 4. 7 times 7. 7 times 1 is 7, and 4. 7 and 4 is 11. Okay, need another 0, huh? Because 120 minus 112 is 8. Put this 0 down, and now this time it should work. 16 into 80 goes 5 times. 5/16 is 80. Subtract, we get 0. Last remainder 0, so the answer is totally 0.4375. And now, so we've got the percentage or the answer as a fraction and a decimal, but now we have to turn the decimal into a percent. So how do you turn that decimal into a percent? Well, move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right to get 43.75%. Okay.